We have all seen fictional characters before where we thought that we could fix them, right? But then you came to the realization that fixing them would make them lamer, so you just go with the flow instead of wanting to fix them. Even if the red flags are not even red flags anymore, but a how train station telling you, hey, stop, okay? You are you, and you wanted to read the minds of other people, something we all wanted to when we were younger or still do. Remember when you could buy an X-ray for your little old phone that you saw on the TV and got scammed? It's kinda like that. You build your own helmet that now would allow you to read minds, called the Psychopomp. It didn't actually work though. Instead you see things that you normally don't see, or shouldn't see. A totally different world, hiding behind the world you have known so far. The first thing I didn't quite expect is that the movement is that of a dungeon crawler, even though the Steam page says it is one, so there's also a free version of the game with less levels and polish, so dummy me, but I like going into games totally blind if I like the vibe the game gives me based on the screenshots. I could have just played the free version of the game and get an idea how it plays or what it is about, but hey, doesn't it feel good to risk some money, spending those $8 on a game and hope you will like it and you didn't make a mistake? Feels like I'm actually going to a shady casino. Don't go there though, just play video games instead that make you go to shady places instead. Because can you even trust anything? Your public school, your local sewer system? What if they're hiding all the cute anime girls down there? Somewhere you just wouldn't expect all of their cuteness like these fellas. I love oversized anime eyes. There's also a furry sighting down here. Your mission in each level is to destroy the heart of the building, the glue that keeps it together. The buildings look normal at first, but can you trust that normalness? What if they're hiding a deep secret down there in the basement, doing sick experiments and all that? What is the government hiding from you? It's like the dream of every conspiracy theorist, taking the elevator to truly see what's going on inside of them. There's 4 different things for you to do: look, speak, touch, or hammer. All of these options do exactly what you think they do. You can inspect things by looking at them, speak to them if they are capable of speech, touch them even if they look weird, or hammer the hell out of them. You got your trusty hammer to put an end to these places, and well, bashing things with a hammer is fun in a video game. In real life it's not really fun to hit your own thumb when putting a nail into the wall, and probably also getting some electricity going through your body because you hit some cable. And I have to say, the combat is as simple as it gets. If you actually expect a good dungeon crawler, then you will be disappointed. There's no real puzzles and the combat is just going backwards while swinging your hammer at the enemies. There's no tactic to them at all. Only one enemy in the game does more than just running at you, and it's a dude with a flamethrower. You know, you can insert a German joke, you're like, haha, Hans gets the Flammenwerfer, I know I have a German accent. The game lives through its aesthetic and story bits that make you want to keep playing, not the fantastic gameplay. In a way, you could even call it a glorified walking simulator. I know that sounds a bit mean, sorry about it, but it is what it is. Many games like this can get a bit lame with how hard they try to be quirky and different, mashing up random tidbits to make it look like the game has an actual hidden deep lore in it. What's going on inside of your head? What will I see next? Does the game have some kind of ending? Am I going to waste my time here and the ending will turn out to be something like, oh, well, it was all just in her head? After this point, there will be spoilers about the outline of the overall story and also about its endings. So here's your warning. I do think it's the kind of game where spoilers don't matter too much because people will end up making their own little thoughts up about it, but still, just wanted to let you know that if you want to try the game out for yourself, that, you don't get spoiled. I will try to unravel it anyways and probably just start ramble about things that make you think, what is he even talking about? Because I think that's the fun in this game, giving it a meaning yourself and trying to puzzle it all together in a way that makes sense to you. This isn't gonna be some kind of lore explanation video that tries to tell you its lore. It's me telling you what I felt about it and how I see it myself, so please do not treat it as such. Maybe MadPat will come out of retirement one day and do it. Most of the time games like this feel like you have to puzzle it all together, just giving you little clues here and there to make the bigger picture up yourself. And at first I thought it's like that here too, but eventually the game really shows you, hey, we have an actual story and not just random stuff mashed together to keep your brain happy to be fed a few crumbs every once in a while. I am not that great, like I said, at being some kind of lore master, so I will keep it short, but there's four, the number four in the game is really important, godlike beings that came into our star system one day and used humans as toys, or more like the whole Earth, because this is a very different Earth from the one we know if you look at what's going on here. Even getting mentioned in some notes, how it's smaller and all that, which implies our Earth has really changed because of them, or we also had to settle onto another planet to turn into another Earth. I'm not quite sure about it. Not like it matters because both of them would be messed up anyway, so maybe this is our real world still, maybe it's the second Earth we had to go to, it doesn't matter. They broke the humans till there were no more humans left, so they started experiments to create humans again since they were their favorite toys, but never quite achieving actual humans again. Those experiments also were all made under the locations you visit, which belong to the government, feeding more into the delusions of how everything is a conspiracy. Seeing monsters and creatures keeping things like Alexander the Great alive so his thoughts can be fed into the next generation of fake humans and teaching them all about humanity and what it means to be human, being kept alive by machines who just can't recreate actual human thought though. There's a location in the game called the Seedbed, where we see these creatures that are supposed to resemble humans made out of clay, exploding into dust when you hammer them, which shows that they're not actually real. But what about the girl in the beginning of the game that explodes into a bloody mess, or ourselves? We see her little radar picture getting a bit bloody whenever you take damage, and well, the health meter is blood, red normal human blood, so we know we are real at least. And we see a fake clone of ourselves too eventually. Are we just a normal human though, or something more special? We will find more about that later, which kinda gives an explanation to what's going on here. My explanation for the girl in the beginning is that at the tutorial stage, we are still sane. That's why humans are humans, because we actually do still exist, and all of this never truly happened, really, maybe. The deeper we go into the game, the less our psyche actually holds up, which I found out later is wrong. So my other explanation I have is that maybe the gods thought they broke all the humans, but there were still a few left anyways because there's a museum in the game, which will explain it a bit more. Here we see a bit of talk about the humans again and how they thought all of them are gone, which is not totally true then. Especially since afterwards they talk about the traits that you find in some levels and also said they got rid of them, which is not true at all since we can see them in multiple levels, which shows you that despite having all this knowledge, even these godlike beings can be wrong about things. So there could still be some humans left that we just don't know about, hiding away from these evil overlords, and I just killed her with my hammer. I'm sorry. It also gives us a glimpse into the minds of these people who overtook our Earth. They found the traits to be too proud to really have fun with them. These greater beings thought of us as toys. You know what that can mean in this kind of fictional setting. Testing our limits, filling you with hatred for them or the whole world, throwing you into a deep abyss of despair to enjoy your suffering, while they just smile at you, knowing you can't do shit back to them. Seeing how far humanity will go to try to defeat them, if that is even possible. Sadly we don't really learn much about the struggle against them. Reminds me a bit of Half-Life with its 7-hour war, where the Combine just took over it so quickly. While the Kraits most likely never gave them this pleasure as humans did. Even if they got hunted down, they never gave them those screams of pleasure that they crave while passing away. They're sadistic, plain and simple, and those love to see the pain on the face of others. But what if they never show any of that? It simply won't be fun for them to inflict pain if the other person never shows pain. And it shows how they build up their own humans. There is no joy, fun or anything like that. They just saw us as miserable creatures that go to work, do some silly wars in our free time, only seeing the worst in us. You do see rather happy beings later in the DNA level that are happy to be able to build themselves up like that, but even then they just say they're happy they have a purpose in their little lives. Work. Work yourself to your bone for what people up there want, instead of living for yourself. There are two endings, the home ending and the ending most people will see, which in a way is also the better one because it features some new cool stuff. You unlock the home ending by collecting a key in every level to unlock the doors in the home section of the game, your home. It's not really homely, but hey, home is different for everyone else. Some can feel at home in a one-room flat, others need to live in a big house to truly feel comforted. You meet two kids at the end of it, the Queen of Venice, you, and the King of Mercury. You like hammers more and he likes nails more. neither of which can work without the other except for hurting. You use the hammer to kill, and he uses the nails to kill. But with your combined teamwork, you could work together to build something new. It ends right after and makes you think if this is a glimpse of another future, or maybe it was a glimpse into the past. Because in the other ending of the game that isn't hidden, you basically become the new Queen of Venice, a goddess that we have seen being worshipped multiple times in the game before, and we even see her shredded skin, where you shortly after become truly her. And are also allowed to visit the library that has a news article hanging inside of it that talks about the Cold Man 4, four lights that most likely messed up the Earth and some other planets really well. You're part of those, and also break loose again. Just for the game to allow you to place the King of Mercury for now a bit right after, and feeling like you suddenly Travis touchdown, waking up at a motel in the middle of nowhere, and seeing what your awakening unleashed on the fake Earth, or maybe it was the real Earth, meeting up with the King of Dogs and family to who knows what, because that's where it ends. Now it's basically proven that everything here was real. You wouldn't set up so much lore just to say, yeah, you know what, none of this is actually real, all just a fake setting and someone's head, even going as far as announcing a sequel and all that. It's a real one hopefully though, since even if you totally go through every plot point here, there's still some question left to be answered. What role does the King of Dogs play? Is he manipulating everyone because he also shows up in the tutorial, or in a little scene where you just see two ops talking to each other? What role does he really play? Like I said, just a little outline of its plot, and there's many little pieces that can mean many different things to everyone. There's many things I left out, so even if you just listen to all of that, you will still be able to find and see many different views on what the game has to say. While I was playing through the game, I wrote down a bit here and there about what I thought the game or the level stood for before it made it clear that this is actually happening and not just going on inside of your head, and I'm fine with that. A psycho woman going around and killing normal people in government buildings because she thinks that the devil spawned would have maybe felt a bit too cliched, almost like American Psycho, making you wonder what was a delusion or what wasn't. I could fix her, and I could also fix Patrick Bateman. But in a way, I still also like to imagine the whole game was still also about the delusions that a human can come up with. In a way, it reminds me of Terry A. Davis, who said one day God visited him and told him to build a temple for him, which he did by programming a Hollow OS called Temple OS. God also gave him divine intellect to do so. He sadly suffered from schizophrenia and passed away a couple of years ago. Rest in peace. I'm sure you will be playing chess up in heaven with God now and see the most realistic elephants possible too. But there are many cases like this. It turns you into a person that nobody knew before. You can live a totally normal life, and then one day it turns the switch on, eating your brain from the inside and turning you into a whole different person, and there's nothing you can really do against it. Also, the thing is, how do you fix this? What if a person refuses treatment? You can't just force a person to take pills. They delve deeper and deeper into their delusions, not knowing what is real or isn't anymore. It feels the game wants to simulate that to a degree. It's easy to see all of the things happening in the game as just her delusions that were manifested through the experiences she had in life. All of these places relate to our main schizo girl, or mostly us humans. Because we all went to hospitals before, school, the typical places you go to when you live a fairly normal life. Despite how much we hate these places though, we all had those mornings where we would rather stay at home because maybe there's a test today and you know you're gonna bomb it, and then your parents really do not enjoy you writing bad grades so they get really mad at you. Maybe you got bullied at school, or maybe you just don't feel like going. There's many reasons why your school time maybe wasn't the happiest. We visit a children's hospital though in particular. Why? Is it because she got sick often as a kid, so she spent lots of time in here instead of being able to go to school and eventually lost track of it, which leads to bad grades, not being able to hang out with friends at school if you got any. You're gonna be seen as the weird kid who barely shows up. So even if you do show up, you wish you wouldn't be there because you feel you're out of place and people are talking behind your back when you're not around. How does it relate to the stewards though? It could be that she thinks of herself as trash, suffering from low self-esteem, thinking she should be discarded like all the waste that ends up down there. We all had those phases too, feeling so empty and not wanting to exist, feeling you're taking space up from people or just the world in general, feeling like you don't belong here, and even not thinking you're truly human anymore. Which you are though. You are human. Keep your chin up if possible because better times will always come. Most of the time. I know these words sound a bit hollow, coming from a random dude on the internet, not knowing you and you not knowing me. It's up to the person itself to take it in a meaningful way. Sometimes it works for people, sometimes it doesn't. Another level is the hard structure building stage, which is a town that has seen better days, just decaying with giant moths all over it, feeling like a prison or cage instead of a place you want to walk around in, while feeling also totally lost in there, just like a person that lives in a big city without knowing anyone, coming home there to decay, going through the motions and the routine of our normal human life if you didn't find a connection to others, feeling like you're the insect. Wow, it's just like Kafka's Die Verwandlung. Most of these levels can just be projected onto our own lives, mostly if you live a rather not too happy one. Eventually the levels got more and more abstract and don't really relate to real places anymore, and obviously with the actual endings I do think this is just a totally different Earth and planet instead, but still, it was fun to look at the game like this at the beginning. I think it's fun to see the meaning in things even when they're not what they were meant to be. It's hard to deny that all of this actually does take place on a totally new Earth on a different planet, and there's greater beings out there who use other races and planets as their silly little toys. That's fun too, except if it would actually happen to my planet. That's what a game kinda leads to when it doesn't explain anything to the player in a way a Marvel movie would. You make up your own scenario instead of your head and think, am I onto something? I thought I was onto something before the game bonked me onto the head for thinking too straight and trying to fit too much real life experience into it. It's a little view into the head of something we don't really understand ourselves sometimes. How can a human brain just become like that? It's an illness you would never want to wish onto anyone else because it makes you think as if some people just got possessed by something else entirely, if someone becomes schizophrenic. And it's hard to talk about this as someone who luckily never had to deal with something like this myself, but it should scare you a bit when you think about it. What if it actually does happen to you and you feel your brain changing and changing without being able to hold it back except for taking your pills? It's great that we have made such big medical steps to somewhat cure people that were unlucky enough to get these worms that slowly eat up your brain to turn you into a shell of your former self, stealing away all the personality you may have had before, or giving you a new fun one that you never wanted. That's why it's so important to talk about these things openly. There's nothing wrong with it. The days of people putting a white vest onto you and throwing you into a cell full of rubber are luckily gone, mostly. I just hope everyone can get the help they need before life becomes hell for themselves and for the people around them. With that said, I hope you're doing okay, and if you're not, then please seek help and rely on others. Even if the first step feels hard, you can do it. Have a good day, a good night, or whatever fits your time zone. I'm excited for Psychopomp 2 and where it leads to, and also my Steam achievements were buggy, so I didn't got a single achievement even though I beat the game. I'm kinda sad.